Now playing the Artist for Artist podcast.
In a world full of podcasts, three brothers decide to change the game. This year, see the podcast that everyone's calling amazing.
Artist for artists, artist for artists, to artists for artists.
This is the Artist for Artists podcast with your hosts James, CJ, and Hennessy.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to Artist for Artists, the podcast where we give our views on the music and media industry. I got my boy James to my left. I got my boy CJ to the left. And today, we're going to dive into beef in the music industry, something that you guys see all the time, something that we talk about in the group text all the time. And rap beef is something that has been around since the beginning of the game. What it can do for your career, it can help or it can hurt. So today, we're going to dive into kind of both sides of it and really take a look at how it's really impacted the careers of some artists. I think the first person that comes to mind for me is 50 Cent. 50 Cent has had beef from Ja Rule to The Game to you name it, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like when you have beef with 50 Cent, that it really never ends. You look at Floyd Mayweather, he still finds a way to troll Floyd Mayweather today. But with 50 Cent, I feel like when he does it, it turns into like a marketing tactic. Every time I see on social media when he's like in some sort of beef, he's always having the hashtag of his brands. He's always making sure like either his show is being promoted. He's very tactical with the way that he does that. So I guess when you guys look at these different rap beefs, do you guys ever feel like it's mainly put out for marketing? Do you feel like some of this beef is actually real beef? Like what are your guys' thoughts, I guess, on like beef within the industry?
Honestly, I feel like hip hop in general has always been about beef. And
Facts.
and I think that goes way, way back in the time. Like if you want to talk about like Pimp C, you want to talk about Tupac, you want to talk about Biggie, you want to talk about like those different things. I feel like beef in hip hop was always a good thing.
Yep.
It now like throughout the lines of beef, it's just gotten violent. But I don't even think that was like the cap for beef back in the day. Like hip hop, you had beef with the other artists either because they were up and coming, or they were like portraying something that they weren't. You were just trying to do that battle out, you know, and
For sure.
your beef on the record or your beef, you know, to start up whatever. But it was kind of like a part of the culture. So when I see it now, I think of it as hip hop. Like that's just what it is for this generation too. But then now it's just different because you have beef with somebody and now it's beyond the music.
There's like two sides of it to me. Hands down, 50 Cent is probably the most lucrative at beef. Like I think
For sure.
he tapped into that and realized, okay, well, just if you're looking at it from every other artist's standpoint, like when Jay-Z and Nas had their situation, they sold a lot of records.
For sure.
And it's still kind of, that one is still prevalent today. Like we all know it, and I'm gonna say it. And Nas won, but even with the LL and was it Kumo D, LL and Cannabis and whatever it may be, I think that's the shift when people started seeing how lucrative it can actually be towards the careers and the marketing situation. 50 just cracked the code though, like, you know, so anything that he's doing, whether it's hip hop or TV, he's using beef as that vehicle to push whatever his narrative is forward. But in association with what you were saying, I think up until, like you said, hip hop has always been beef. It's part of the culture. It's what we do, right? I rap better than you. I'm nicer than you, whatever it may be. We can go years back on that. I think the only time that it really took that turn was that East Coast, West Coast stuff.
Yep.
You know, and that's when it got off wax and started to become something that I don't think was intended, you know, because even B-boys had beef. You know what I mean? Like they just, back before in the day, people like, oh, you think you nice? Battle me. And it really was no fighting and nothing like that. So like, I think it's just two sides to the coin where it's the motives of the individual. Yeah, if that makes sense.
For sure. No, that
but it's great for the
makes sense.
culture.
Oh, we love it. Like I said, we tune in every time it happens. All the blogs pick it up. Shade Room, they get all their views. It's clicks, right? That's kind of the marketing in all of it. I think one of the biggest rap beefs, though, that we could probably all agree on is Drake and Meek Mill. That dates back to 2015, I believe. This is when Meek Mill called out Drake for having a ghostwriter.
I was about to say, is this about the whole ghostwriter?
Yeah,
Quentin
Miller. That's kind of when that whole thing started. So Meek said what he had to say. Drake felt some type of way about it. And what did Drake do? He made not one, but 2 diss tracks. He made Charged Up and he made Back to Back.
Oh, Back to Back. Yeah.
Charged Up, that was fire. That was fire. But Back to Back is when it really got dicey for Meek Mill. With Back to Back, that song was actually Grammy nominated. And the specific bar in that song was, is that a world tour or your girls tour? And
we all know
all the blogs picked that up.
We know who the tour was.
We know, but
Right.
but I mean that I feel like that that song, just the fact it was Grammy nominated and how everybody was screaming those lyrics, and I know for a fact that definitely got to Meek Mill, number one, but two, I think that was a major setback in his career. I don't think his career was ever the same after that beef. Even though they're cool today and they've dropped music since, I still think that was such a major setback in his career. When you have like these cult-like followings like Drake and you diss someone like that, Nicki has that same type of following. There's a lot of people who have that
But
following.
see, that's the downfall of all of that beef too. That's kind of like being in a relationship, right? And you're in on it, and it's like, all right, so her parents, you're great with them and all the stuff like that. You're great with the family, whatever. And y'all get into a situation, and then y'all go and tell y'all families what's happening, right?
Yeah.
Now, moms might not even love you, like can stay in your guts right now because of whatever situation y'all are going through. But the minute you guys make up, or the minute that you guys are fine, now the whole other family's like, well, I still don't like, or I still think this. So it's kind of like, even with the beef, like you get all these fans, you get people that's backing you up as an artist, and you have this beef with another artist. So now whatever it was, whether it was a marketing, whatever, or you guys really did have beef, if you squashed it, if it's cool now, you still have your core audience still bringing up issues, still bringing up the facts that you guys don't get along. That's what we paid to, like, that's what we poured into this brand, because you guys don't get along.
Yeah.
So now what do you do, like, after all of that type of stuff? Like, that's a downfall.
That's super accurate. Yeah, and I like how you put that.
Yeah,
Because it's true. 'Cause there's a couple people I still don't like, and I'm like, but they still together.
But
so
they
I can't
fine.
say
Like,
nothing.
the whole
right, I can't really
situation-
say nothing. But as far as like wins and losses, right? It's always sketchy for me when it comes to that. I can honestly say that, and I really want to break it out this way, that lyricists, people who actually are good at the craft, and I could bring up a lot of examples, even we know Meek Mill writes better than Drake. We know Cannabis writes better than LL. We knew, well, that Biggie and Tupac was kind of like, but I'm just someone like, overall,
I think fan-geared,
right.
That
It was all fan-geared,
so
right.
fan-geared.
But just like when you look at it from a perspective of it being, well, is it a win? Or is it who got the bigger monster machine behind them? And they always get crushed by the machine at the end of the day. Jadakiss and Beanie. Nobody probably remembers that. I'm the old head here. But that was probably one of the top beefs that I've seen where I just did not know where it was going to go.
Yeah.
We know Jada is top 5 Dead or Alive. We know Beanie is I Could Feel It in the Air and Broad Street Bully. So it was probably the only beef I really was like, I don't know where this is going. And Jada had the better machine behind him. And what I mean by that is he started releasing songs as songs.
Yeah.
And Beanie was still doing Clue freestyles. And you got the broader audience, and it just, the stardom.
For sure.
The stardom is what really captivated that. And same thing with the Drake and Meek Mill.
Yeah.
His stardom was just too much for Meek to handle.
But that's a wild comment though, because 2015, if we look back, they both were at the top of the game, if you think about it. So when that beef actually initially started, I really wasn't sure if Drake was going to come out on top or if Meek was, especially because he was still in that relationship with Nicki Minaj, which Meek was already doing his thing, but I feel like that amplified his audience. He got some of the Nicki
100%.
fans.
Oh, yeah.
So that's
100%.
really
Oh, yeah.
like, they both were at the top. So that one specifically, I was like, I really don't know. And
Drake got a plane, bro. He's Air Drake.
Just like accurate. That is accurate. So let me play devil's advocate.
You went up
Yeah.
against a monster thinking that like you were actually going to point out the fact like everybody knew Drake didn't write his song. It was just like you went up against that. If you look at I know his name, I just can't remember right now, from Good Music,
Big Sean,
From Clips.
Kanye, 2 Chainz,
From
Clips.
Clips. What's his name again?
Pusha?
The brother,
Pusha T.
Pusha. If
Pusha
you look
T.
at Pusha done had a million beefs. He even had a beef with Drake, didn't he?
For years. They still
beefing.
They still beefing,
But
yeah.
can't really touch Push. And it's because of his staple that he has in the machine. You know what I mean? He's actually a gatekeeper. So it's like, but when he comes like Meek, I'm sorry, bro. Like that's a fight you shouldn't have picked, bro. Like I wouldn't have picked that fight.
So I actually, I was doing my research on this. So in a interview, I think in 2019, he did with the Breakfast Club and Charlemagne the God, he actually unveiled that he was dealing with a serious opioid addiction at the time, and that's kind of what fueled him to even like get to that point to say what he said. So I don't think he was fully in
Do you believe it though?
I was about to ask that question.
I believe it. I think he was going through a lot of different stuff at the time.
Because then there's also people in your ears about everything too. Like it ain't just your decision.
That's the other part.
Like, you know,
True.
you got people behind you. It's like, you know, you're going to let that be this. And that's how we, you know, sometimes if you don't have the right team behind you, giving you the right directions at some point, because even if that's the case, then all right, if that's it, then maybe we should think of another way.
He could have just called Olivia Pope.
So that's that. But I think
this affects my bread too. Like, you know what I mean? Like I'm a part of this whole thing with you. So it's just like your best decision is my best decision.
For sure.
So
and it's egos. So I guess
definitely egos. I was gonna say, I think
yeah.
the way that he initially like said this was via Twitter. So I mean, if you're looking at Meek Mill's Twitter today, he kind of just be tweeting whatever.
Yeah,
so I think he probably was
Twitter.
maybe a little high under the influence and just let it go. And then from there,
where's the accountability in that? You know what I'm saying? Because
that's why with the interview years later, he's like, the opioid addiction, you know, that's kind of what.
Yeah.
So you said something before, but I want to bring it back because you said the machine, right? So let's talk about Meg Thee Stallion and Nicki Minaj. If we're talking about the machine, if we're comparing, I guess, those two beefs, and what social media is thinking, what I guess I think from listening to both, a lot of people think that Meg, with her single Hiss, was a lot better than Bigfoot, I think was the name of Nicki Minaj. So if we're talking about machine, that kind of that's not anything for that conversation because Nicki's fan base is a lot larger.
The fan base is not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about like fan bases alone, Nicki's cult, like, you know, Drake is cult. Like, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about where the industry wants to go next.
Got you.
You know what I mean? I'm talking about Nicki, you're pop. You're done. You ran your course. Meg is it. We're moving on to Meg. So now, even though, like, Meg Thee Stallion joint was fire compared to Bigfoot. We all know that.
Yeah, that's not
I
a
was
question.
laughing when I seen Bigfoot go number one. Just in the association with Apple One Music and whatever the case may be, but even the Spotify playlist, all this Nielsen SoundScan stuff is all being faked anyway. You know, I can put my YouTube up and they counting it, and I can just buy whatever. But like just in where the industry wants to go next, like who's the next one? You know what I mean? When Lil' Kim got crazy with Nicki, I'm like, why? Like, why? It made perfect sense for Lil' Kim, no sense for Nicki to even entertain it. Nicki did, whatever the case may be, but the industry was just like, oh, well, you know, Lil' Kim, you're not it. Because Nicki is it now. So it's that what I'm talking about. When I say the machine, I just want to clarify that it's the actual tastemakers or the industry itself saying, okay, we're gonna move it this way.
I feel that, but I feel like with beef, it's more of the fans that are moving who's winning versus who's not than the actual industry itself. Would you agree, or
is there fans anymore though? Like, and that's really like, I know we like the artists have, you know, these cult like fanships, but is that even true anymore? Like, we don't even know anymore. Before you would know. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but that has to be the goal now, is to get a core fan base.
Of course.
Like,
no, I get that.
Yeah, because everything else is so fake and machine done and everything like that too. So you don't really know what's true. That's
my problem. So it's like, oh, I have 1 million barbs, or I have 1 million stallions, or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like, we don't really know, because it's so vast now that our golden age artists are still moving.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So where I'm DJing, and I found myself leaning toward the 90s and the 2000s and all this other stuff, there's still a core base in that who are actually still moving. You know what I mean? So for me, it's like, well, how much? I mean, we was able to judge on record sales before. We can't judge on anything anymore.
On record sales like
so
that no more.
So let's go back to what I said about the machine, and maybe it's even not just the machine; it's also just the likability of the brand. You know what I mean? So it's like, well, who do we like lifestyle wise? You know, no, Lil' Kim, you're old. Nicki, no, Nicki, you're old. Meg, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even Cardi's kind of on the, like, she's doing her thing. I actually like that freestyle that she just dropped, but it's not. It's like, all right, cool.
Yeah.
You know
But it's
I mean?
always about your comeback too. Like you have those moments where I guess when you first start as an artist, like of course you know that. Like you start at a certain place and that's where you're able to express and talk about. So that's all your heat, that's all your fire, first album,
that's your
second
15
album.
years of working.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Then you get into a lifestyle and it gets to be a little different on
like
what you can
Andre
talk
said?
about now. And there's like all of that type of behavior and stuff too. So it's just artists, when they start moving forward, it's like fans, you either get that chord that's going to like rock that out with you all the way through, or you get something that's like, I see Nicki over there and I kind of like what she's doing, and now
But even that, it's just when the shift happened when we were able to start making music in our living rooms, right? And I'm not going off kill from being beef, but right now the biggest beefs we don't know about. We have no idea. Biggest beefs are like N Dot and somebody else, some drill rapper who's they shooting, like, it's big to my 16-year-old son. He's like, yo, N Dot and this person, and I'm like, I never heard them on the radio. Or I never seen them on Spotify playlists, or I never seen them in things like that. So it gets to a point where it's just cultured and your experience bias, like you said. It's like your experience. But like if I said half these drill rappers' names, you'd be like, yeah, no, I never. You know, as much, even if you tapped in, because there's just so much music.
And then are we getting to a place where we're very comfortable with beef now? Because there's so
That's a good
many,
question.
and the only reason why I'm saying that is because there's so many other things that are highlighted with beef now. And I think back then too, like just how things were when you heard about somebody beefing in the music industry, like, oh my God, somebody's beefing in the music industry, and trying to figure out what's happening, what's going on. Now, like you can just see everything, you know everything, and then now when somebody has beef, you got that, but then you have a lot of other major things happening in the music industry too.
Gotcha.
You know. Like the
That-
case
I
with-
agree
That's
with that.
valid.
like
That's
the case,
valid.
like
yeah.
the case with Diddy. Every day is just something about the music industry. Then it's like you
Is that
start thinking
beef
about
or
Diddy,
love?
and then, but
that beef or
but
love?
it's
We'll get to
something
another
that is
episode. We got
also like you could talk about that on Monday. Then you could talk about the beef with Meg and everything on the Tuesday. Then Wednesday you could talk about the record label laying off all these people.
Or the
off-
beef. Yeah, or the beef that
So it's-
that Universal had with TikTok.
And then you know what I'm saying? Like the beef that day is just
Yeah.
it's like everything's kind of common.
I think there's a really big facade that at the top people are collaborating. I don't think that's the case. I think for any industry, anything you do, the top is actually the most competitive. A lot of people don't want to give you like this little gem or give you. So I think that fuels a lot of beef too. Like when you finally are matched with your idol, when your idol becomes your rival, a lot of times I could feel beef too.
I see
and
that.
I see that happening quite often.
I see
Lil'
that.
Kim and Nicki, like
I'd rather it happen, though.
That happens all the time.
Yeah,
You know?
it also matters like how you're trying to go towards your career too, because there's some things where you get to a certain place and the collaboration can make sense.
Right.
Like it can make sense. And some people already, like you said earlier, like they make a blueprint to actually just have beef, so that can move the meter up for their records, or for this, that, and
Absolutely.
the third. So
That a name
Depends
comes
on
to
how
my
you-
name specifically. An artist who absolutely went crazy doing this. I think his first 9 tracks were top 10 on Billboard, or maybe not top 10. His first 9 tracks were Billboard records, Tekashi 6ix9ine.
I was really
His
about to say
whole
Tekashi.
career was fueled off beef. Whole entire career. From Chief Keef to Lil Durk to Lil Reese. I can name a ton more.
Yeah, he had a good, right.
That was his whole career. That was his whole career, and that's what kept him having buzz. That's what kept people following, liking, commenting, sharing his videos. And that's an artist who built a career off beef, and that kind of shows you really the marketing genius behind that.
Well, I think 50 actually spoke about that at some point on Tekashi when he was on the Breakfast Club, I believe.
And that's why 50 kind of took
Yeah.
him under his wing at first.
And that's
he was like,
exactly why.
I like
I
this
like what he's
guy.
doing,
I
yeah.
like
Yeah,
how
because it's it's. I mean, let's be honest. Everybody loves the villain. You know what I mean? Like everybody loves the villain. Like so, it's just one of those things. And you know, everybody loves the villain, especially when like, and I'm using as an example, like when all these Marvel and DC superheroes are turning dark. So like anti-heroes and all this other stuff. So that's what the American culture is built on, right? So even in music with the beef, it's like, well, who's the bigger bully? You know, who's the bigger bully? Who's gonna be the one that's standing on top of this throne? And as you said, I like it though. Like when you come here and then you gotta knock off the top dude. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, how many beefs has Hove been in?
That's very true.
How many?
It's easier to beef than collab.
But yes, but I'm just like, I had to think this myself. I was like, well, how many real beefs has Hove been in?
Cameron.
Was that a beef or
Well, on Cam's side, Cam looked at it as beef.
I'm talking Hove.
Yeah, I was gonna say Cam
looked at it as beef. Hove was just
I think
pushing
50
power.
had a brief little in like the late in the 2000s at some point.
Yes.
50 Cent had a brief.
And then the machine said, "Hey man, you better chill and get this sneaker with me."
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like he said, it depends on what you're trying to do with where you're going with and what you're doing as an artist and what your plan may be. You know what I mean? Is it something that you can really, really live on? Not these days. Because these days the beef goes beyond the wax.
And what you're saying,
go ahead, bro.
and what you're saying is like two different perspectives too. Because if you're looking at it from a perspective of Jay-Z, the minute Jay-Z gives his yes or gives his attention to something, it becomes Jay-Z.
True. That's true.
It does not become whoever the beef is with whoever. It becomes Jay-Z responded. Jay-Z said this. Jay-Z put out that. Jay-Z had an angry face when he read, like, it's going to be that. You know what I mean? So it's easier to always beef with who's on the top because it brings attention to whatever you're trying to raise a noise about.
Absolutely.
But it could always die out if that person who's on top does not give it a response. Now, if you're talking about collaborations, like you said earlier, when you look at the top artists who are up there right now, anybody who's in the industry that wants to collab with those top artists.
Right.
Which is a handful. Even with rap, it's like maybe 5 or 6 people who are like considered the top rappers right now. You got a whole bunch of independent rappers. You have a whole bunch of independent singers and artists who are dying to get a feature or collab with these 6 prominent like rappers. So it's like they're not going to say yes to everybody, and their brand is not going to say yes to everybody. And anybody who's on their team is going to be very like detailed on who they pick.
Specific.
Yeah, they're gonna say this is it, this is not, this is it, this is not.
That's
so it's always gonna be easier. Well, you won't let me in the door with a collab, so let me beef.
Oh yeah.
Oh, because then I'm forced to pull you out.
And you're gonna have to either give it attention or the fans is gonna make I'm gonna gear it some way somehow, and if it dies out, it dies out. But, you know,
you said that, and it immediately put me into a whole verse. And when he says it, he goes, correct me if I'm wrong, people, don't judge me, can't remember, but it was so fast. But Hov said, if I shoot you, I'm brainless. No, if I shoot you, I'm brainless, but if you shoot me, you're famous. What's it need to do?
Bar.
Yeah, so it's like,
facts.
What you're saying makes perfect sense. If I'm sitting up here and I know I got it, you know, it's easier for you to beef with me, which is what 50 was doing. Yeah. You know, Ja slayed him. You know, because Ja was that dude at the time. And people don't realize, like, as much as you look back, Ja was running the game for a good, strong, like, and 50 said,
he's whack. Huh? 50 just say he's whack.
50 said he's whack. And then
he ain't
the narrative up. And kept on it. But if anybody, I'm going to say who I will never, and I advise every artist, every business person, anybody, even if it's the hot dog guy in the corner, leave 50 alone.
Absolutely.
Just leave him alone.
I'm always trying to figure out who would be the one that like gets 50 really like ruffled up on something, like, and I haven't seen one yet.
It's hard because he does this on two different industries.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like he's just the guy who just doesn't care or cares a lot. But I've listened to his book and I understand his psyche. And
I love his book.
I love his book.
Actually, a prime example with that. So from his book, Oprah Winfrey had said something on her show about like not liking 50 Cent and not liking
Oprah. You should stop saying
not
who
liking
you don't
his
like.
music
Okay,
or something like
It's a lot
that.
going
And he
on
had
you,
beef with
Oprah.
her.
And he got a dog and he
And
named
named
his
it.
dog Oprah, female dog. He
Yeah.
named his dog Oprah, and like Oprah heard that and
And
like
she asked
I think she gave him a chance to like get on the show, and like they kind of squashed the beef on the show.
Did he go?
No. He,
Or is that how it
he
went?
didn't go to the show.
That's why
was gonna say,
it
how
sounded
did
like
he
he
go to
would
the
go.
show?
How did it go? 'Cause
He had so much beef, and he kept on her that he pulled her out of her comfortability and had her do his interview in his house in Queens. And then when asked,
Wait, is that the interview when he showed that he had bought what's his name's house?
Mike Tyson's
Yes,
house.
Mike
no,
Tyson's
no,
house.
no, no.
I
That
think it
his
was.
actual Southside Jamaica Queens, his grandmother's house. She sat in the grandmother's house living room, and then she was trying to mitigate it. And 50, he still was he was cool, but he wasn't letting up. And then when she was like, "Well, I heard about your dog, and you named it over. Why would you do something like that?" And he was like, "Because you was being a bitch." And he was
No,
just
he
flat.
didn't,
Yes,
bro.
he
I
did.
gotta find that,
You gotta
bro.
find that interview. People, if you find that interview, please send it to us so he can see it. Because I was watching the interview and I was like, you know what? 50's just one guy you just leave alone.
Yeah.
Because he said it himself. He said, people get mad at me and have problems with me because I say, when you have a problem, I say no problem.
Mhm.
Because I'm the problem.
Yeah.
I say no problem. So, but if you had to choose, like just in your experience, because beef, we can talk about that forever, right?
Yeah.
But in each one of our timelines, like for you, I heard you say it earlier, but if you had to pick one beef, you was like, yo, this was it. For you, which one was it?
Yeah. If I had to pick one beef that's like, I gotta say Drake and Meek Mill, just because the aftermath. I've never seen a beef hurt someone's career more than that. So I would say that one. Meek still hasn't recovered from that.
Nah, Meek's not.
He still hasn't recovered from that. He just dropped the album, 6K
he's
first week. That's
not gonna recover.
really poor. The album was great though, but yeah, that's probably that'll probably be from my perspective.
Yeah, Drake and Meek.
Yeah.
What about you?
Definitely, I'm in between Drake and Meek and Little Kim and Nicki. Yeah, that was just very interesting to me. I'm like, it's the same people beefing, and it is so.
It's the same exact person.
It's the same.
Right?
Yo, that tripped me out because I said, if anybody, they're gonna be cool. And the moment I saw they had beef, I said, oh, this is dumb, and it's about to be over. So it was entertaining to me. So I'm between those two.
So, like, for me, and I need people to do the research on this, but I know everybody's gonna expect me to say like Biggie and Nas, but I said it earlier. One of my favorite beefs was that Jada and Beanie Siegel.
Yeah.
Like, it, and what made it worse was it kind of went outside of it just being Jada and Beanie. It turned it to be the Locks, Rough Riders against Beanie and some people in the Rock.
Yeah.
So that's for me why it got so big, because now the legendary crews are all,
like two
saying
teams
things.
going at each
Teams
other.
are going
Yeah,
at
yeah.
it, and it was just like, what's Jada Kiss? It's Beanie. Rock kind of lost. I'm gonna tell you why they kind of lost, because Jada had like Styles and Drag On and all these other people from Rough Riders, and the follow ups with Beanie was like Petey Crack, Chris and Neef. It was like, you lost right there, bro.
Yeah.
Like the punches were being thrown and you couldn't even feel that. But that was like, for me, one of my top ones. Yes, we're gonna say Jay-Z, Nas, and Ether. That's just, we know. But for people that, for me, it was that.
Okay. So I guess we'll close on this. What do you guys think that it takes to win a beef? Is it the amount of streams? Is it what the fans are saying? Is it how their careers impacted after? Like, what? I guess how do we decide who won the beef? I guess it's kind of my question.
That's a good question.
I think beef is all in favor of entertainment.
And is there a winner?
Yeah, that's why I said
I
I
was gonna
think
say, is
beef
there a
is
winner?
all in favor of entertainment. I think sometimes it's a coin flip with beef. It's because it's definitely how you enter into the industry is how you're gonna kind of like sustain, right?
Yep.
So to me, it really comes down to the goal of the artists and how they're rolling themselves out. If you're gonna start on beef, like you gotta stand, to me, and I could be wrong, but you stand on how you walked in the door. The minute you start switching up or doing something different, it not necessarily doesn't say that it won't work, but the label, everybody else is going to look at you. It's going to take more convincing to change up.
Like the image, because this is what we know. This is what we've seen from you.
So you either take that. So that's why even sometimes the beef goes so extreme. Because now it's like, look, I done started this. I gotta go for the gut. Like I gotta move, and you can get it. You can get it. Whoever. This is how I'm. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And especially if it's a part of who you are too. Like as a person, like this is a lifestyle of yours. So it's not a gimmick. It's not like Lil Nas X or something like that. Like you come in here and it's a whole gimmick. No, I'm really from the street. This is what I do. But I came in the industry like that.
For sure.
That doesn't really accept change unless it's going to make more money.
I was going to say, not many have been able to make that change. I can think of a few, like Lil Durk.
And some of them might want to.
Yeah, I was going to say. Because they always used to name dead ops in songs and like, I'm smoking so-and-so pack. Like that was really a thing. And I think recently Durk said like, he's not doing that anymore. Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Now he's a Grammy. So you can kind of jump out of that lane, but...
I think that, and just
going on.
Just to answer the question too, for me, I think that I kind of agree with what James is saying, right? I think the person who wins the beef is the person who stays the most authentic in what they were. You know, I mean, even when it happened with Big Sean, you know, and Kendrick. It was like, how fast did that sizzle?
Quick.
It was
fairly quick.
Fairly quick, because it was just like, Big Sean would have lost that. And even as great as he is, Big Sean would have lost that because Big Sean stopped being, like he started somewhere saying, oh, I'm not going to do these names. I'm not going to say, and then you say a name when you dropped your album. And then it was like, oh, so we know what you're doing here. Kendrick would have just stayed the same. So I think it's the person who stays the most authentic in what they're doing who actually may win that within the street and the court of public approval, who might actually win that beef.
Got you.
You know what I mean?
Got you. I mean, I agree with what both of you guys are saying. I think it's tough because there's not like a scoreboard that says like, oh, this person has 10 points first. So I think at the end of the day, we're all going to have different perspectives. I might think Meek won the beef. You might think Drake. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I don't know if there really is ever like a true defined winner of the beef. I think it's just based on your perspective. Who do you like? Who's your favorite? And then that's kind of how the conversation goes. And I think that's what makes beef such a lucrative thing, such a marketing thing, because it just creates conversation at all times, whether it's in person, social, whatever it may be.
And I'm sorry because it just popped in my head, but the music industry is always based on an opinion of something or somebody else.
Exactly.
Oh yeah.
Fans, you can have all of that stuff like that too, but there's always like the things that are stamped is from an opinion of another person or something else. And that is for a whole nother episode.
Real quick, I'm going to ask one question and then we're going to be done. I'm not going to start that. Real quick before we get off.
What do you got?
Let me know.
What do you got for
two
me?
people, and you two think about it really fast.
Two people. Ooh.
Just two people who you think should have a beef. Let's go, real fast. I already got mine.
Two people that should have a beef.
I'm going to do it right now. I'll tell you right now. You know who I would love to see
Yeah, you tell me
beef?
yours. Who?
Huh?
Who?
I would love to see Beyonce and Taylor Swift. I want to see that go down, bro.
Boo.
I already know what's going to happen. Beyonce fans are going to say Beyonce
It's
won.
happening already.
The Swifties are going to say Swift won.
It's happening.
It's happening.
I think each fan base is going to say their person won.
Are we crazy right now?
It's
you don't think it's definitely happening right now?
Oh, it is, because she slipped in the country, right? That makes sense. Now, I didn't think about it that way. I'm ready.
Before that, though.
I'm ready.
Before that. Go ahead. I can't think of nobody else.
I can't either. But that was a valid point. Let's close out on that.
All right, well, we'll get back to that. Let us know in the comments.
Let us know what you guys think in the comments.
Yeah.
As always, guys, thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure to subscribe, like, and comment on our channel. We'll be dropping content for you guys, and we enjoy you guys enjoying what we have for you. Peace.
Loving the show? Hit that subscribe button on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or your go-to platform. Stay tuned and stay connected. Catch you on the next episode.